And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. Yeah, and we're back. Thank you again for joining me again today. So to start off, first topic is all about Uber. Now, obviously, many of you are already familiar with the company of Uber, the uh, hail known for their app for providing transportation services in the city and different parts of the world. Now, obviously, in previous discussion, we've been talking about their business model is put into jeopardy with the case that's been going in California, whether Uber drivers are considered part-time versus full-time. Now, obviously, that's put into jeopardy with the judge stating that they should be considered as full-time employee. But regardless, the business continues with their latest features that they're calling it the Uber Reserve. So you'll be able to choose your favorite driver and you can book as early as 30 days in advance. So let's take a closer look here. Yes. So as mentioned, so Uber is now featuring a new feature, as mentioned, wherein you can choose your favorite driver as well book a ride as early as 30 days in advance. Now, rolling out this new feature will allow users to give the advantage of being able to reserve and plan their rides as early as 30 days. And they can also choose their favorite driver to complete the trip. Now, obviously, these features will heavily rely on, for better plannings of trips, and they're dubbing it the Uber Reserve, as I mentioned earlier. And then this feature is designed for users wanting to book a ride at least 2 hours in advance, to as much as 30 days. So obviously, this is tremendous if you're a customer that relies on convenience as well as certainty that someone will pick you up and bring you to the place where you need to go. As mentioned by the operations lead at Uber, Holly Beasley, helping users save time by taking the idea to a whole new level, which I think is tremendous for any business. So it's not just Uber should consider this feature, but I think other taxi services that relies on this business model. Now, obviously, there are two folds that will be tremendous, not just for the users, but as well as for the drivers themselves. Now, riders on the first part will use the reserve feature showing their expected fare upfront, so you know how much you need to pay for the distance that you're going as early as from the time you're trying to reserve. And you can be matched up with the driver even before the trip. So meaning you're given an option as to who will take you to your point of destination. So they're calling it the favorite driver option, which is I think that other taxi services should be able to offer. Normally here we used to hail cabs, and then it's a hit or miss whether you get a very pleasant driver or not. But at least with this one, if you have previous experiences with your driver, you'll be able to get the services. Obviously, you may have to pay a premium for that one, but that's for the benefit of both parties, right? You build a relationship, you're more comfortable, especially with the pandemic that's going on. Comfortable safety is at the premium here. And not only that, favorite drivers will then be offered the possible to answer to the call. Now, there will be no penalties for the drivers for not deciding to take the given trip. Now, obviously, the incentive for preferred drivers would be to give them a higher premium in terms of a higher fare or slightly higher base fare compared to the regular one, so that you can get the familiarity or ease of using the feature. And also, you're given a grace period for what do you call this? There's a 15-minute grace period should the rider run late. So meaning there's also a one-time guarantee that would compensate users or Uber users should their experience delays. And the consequence of that is riders would be given a $50 Uber cash, which will compensate those users in their inconvenience. But this will not come out of the driver's own pocket. So meaning it's the company who's shouldering uh, the penalty here, which I think is a win-win for everyone. Now, obviously, you want to give some leeway to the drivers. Obviously, even if it's your favorite driver, there are always unexpected circumstances wherein, a driver may be late. So, question is, what's the solution here? Can you look for a different driver on such short notice here? And if you're able to find one, then, good for you. If not, obviously the company has to find an alternative solution right away. Anyway, so, and another thing here, as I mentioned, so certain reserve ride feature is canceled. If you're able to cancel within the hour for the whole trip, the driver will be then receive the entire fare here, which is kind of what they call this, kind of fair in a sense, because they have to prepare in advance. They have to commit to your bookings, whether they're near or far, based on the location here. And obviously, this will give an incentive for more drivers to collaborate more with their frequent customers, so to speak. And it's not an easy thing, especially with the pandemic that's going on. To combat the uncertainty of whether there's risk attached to it when you're using their services, you're using the app, using taxi services like in the case of Uber, as well as different companies from Lyft, as well as in Grab. So actually the ones that the feature is already been developed even before at the start of the pandemic, which is, I think it's a great way of innovating, and it just came at the right time that we're in, with a given situation. People are less likely to use their services if not for this additional new feature. And what they plan to do is initially launch with 20 different states in the United States, and rolling out a premium Uber Black as well as Black SUV rides. I think there should be something incorporated in all cities, as not just in the United States, but I think it should be applied worldwide. I mean, it's a feature that I think customers could benefit, as well as the riders could benefit, and eventually the company would benefit. So it's a win-win for everyone. Anyway, continuing with our next story. So speaking of Amazon, so we've been talking about those big tech giants that are being in turmoil, in sense of they're being investigated, not just in the United States, in the European Union and so forth. Well, now it's now their turn to file a lawsuit. So in particular, Amazon is filing a lawsuit against against an influencer in Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for selling counterfeit products. Now it's something that you're not expecting from Amazon, which, because as a platform itself, they're dealing with counterfeit products that are being sold in their platform. What are they supposed to be doing? Anyway, so they're filing the lawsuit against two media influencers, so for allegedly teaming up with about dozens of different third-party sellers in order to promote, advertise, even facilitate the sale of certain counterfeit luxury products. So let's see here. So the persons of interest, in particular, the accused individual here is Sabrina Kelly Cresci. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And Kelly Fitzpatrick is another here. So as I mentioned, so they're both influencers using different platforms or social media platforms to make a name for themselves. So using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok accounts and even their own personal websites to promote said counterfeit products that are being sold directly on Amazon. Now, obviously, counterfeit products should not be tolerated, and is it the fault of the seller or the influencer? Is it the chicken or the egg dilemma here? And who is to blame here? Does Amazon have a right here to sue those influencers? Maybe, maybe not. But again, the dilemma here is why were third-party sellers who sells counterfeit products are allowed to proliferate in their platform. So is it the responsibility of the platform to monitor those things, not just wait after the fact? Where there's no notoriety, people are known when they're shown that they're condoning such activities. But even the marketplace has also been facing several issues, not just counterfeit but also the sale of unsafe, counterfeit, and as well as expired goods. So obviously, the main key issue here is the selling of counterfeit products. Now, I think we already discussed it before. Actually, one of the major companies who used to sell their products on Amazon is Nike. But they've stopped selling it because they thought that if they were to sell their products on said platform, this would discourage counterfeit products to be sold in their platform, which is in the case was not. And not everyone can be like Nike, wherein they could leave the platform and still be profitable. And if you think about it, if you're a small third-party seller here and you're dependent on the platform, and if the company were to produce their own products, they compete against you. And then there's the counterfeit product that's selling other products. It's a big dilemma that, fake products has to be dealt with. So can Amazon do something about it? Or do they just sue those people who are, bystanders in this situation? The fact that Amazon is collecting millions of data from individuals who buy their product as well as from sellers, why not use that technology to weed out those counterfeit products, right? Go through a more stringent process to determine which companies are allowed to sell in their platform and who are not. And they has to be registered in some ways in their companies in the United States, as mentioned. And it was mentioned here according to, let's see here, according to the Vice President, let's see here, yes. According to Vice President Dharmesh Mehta, stating that the whole case is specifically stood out specifically towards due to the alleged counterfeiters' own brazenness on different social media platforms. Obviously, this is the extreme of what you'd expect. Even though you're selling counterfeit, you tend to sell it on the down low and not broadcast it as much. But if you're encouraging counterfeit products to be sold on your platform, this is the extreme of what you would get from your sellers. And as long as there's buyers going to buy your products, who are you to stop them? Right? If you want to control that, you control from the very beginning that you don't allow third-party sellers. Are they legit products or not? If it's counterfeit, then you don't allow it to sell in your platform. And what's funny is they're asking that there needs to be a better collaboration between businesses and the online platform, in this case Amazon. Why do you need collaboration? You're the one controlling the platform. Shouldn't you be the one dictating the terms in the first place? The fact that you can control who sells and who does not says a lot. Meaning, Amazon has a long way before they can rectify the situation. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Obviously, with the crisis that's going on right now with the worldwide issue, it's going to proliferate for quite some time until either government steps in or Amazon does it themselves already. Anyway, next we have here with regards to big businesses that are significantly hampered now. One of the companies that are affected is the Disney company. For those who are familiar, they own the Disney theme park Disneyland. So they have theme parks all around the world, from Hong Kong, in Japan, in the United States, 2 different states at that, one in California, as well as one in Florida. Then they have Euro Disney. So some Disney theme parks are able to reopen, but in the case that that have remained closed is Disneyland in California. And this has not just major ramifications for the company, but also other businesses who rely on the on the business on Disney here. So let's take a look here. So we can see here that the lengthy closure of Disneyland puts pressure on other businesses that rely on the company here or the business here. And obviously, if this continues to drag on, employees within the company, have to be laid off, furloughed, whatever you want to call it, would have devastating effect on the local economy. Now, not only that, this has also, shattered, as I mentioned here, the local economy, in particular in the Orange County region here. So let's see here. So as mentioned here, so here we have one of the example here, Michael Afram, who owns a transportation company. So typically he makes a daily trip. Is it daily trip? Yeah, a daily trip of 450 to 500 rides a day, shuttling people between Los Angeles and San Diego back and forth. So that's big business. Obviously, a lot of tens of thousands of millions of people who visit the theme park. There will always be other businesses that would benefit from this. Not just the hotels, the transportation, and so forth, and even the restaurant and so forth. But with the shutdown of the theme park, this has reduced his business significantly. Now, where it used to be almost 500 rides a day, it's a startling difference in terms of almost only 140 for the month of October. Now, that's obviously a significant reduction for their business. Now, how long can they last? Obviously, it's not going to be sustainable as long as the Disney company or the Disney theme park remain shut off for the foreseeable future. And there have been reports that they may remain closed until end of the year. So they could be looking as early as next year, and that's not even a certainty, even if the vaccine is already available. And would people feel safe going to the venue? And it raises the risk of thousands of people's job are put at risk, not just at Disneyland, but as well as the local economy there. Now, the main issue here, or the main culprit that's being discussed here, is regarding the safety of the facility, and is it safe to reopen the business, or in this case, the Disney theme park here. Now, obviously, the guidelines that is prescribed by the state has to be implemented, and it has been stated, if you're looking for a good template or a good model, Florida would be a starting point, because Florida has reopened their businesses. In particular, Disney World has reopened at some capacities, so following some strict guidelines as to when it's best to open and what are the protocols needed. And I think they can use that to implement in other states, like in this case in California. Obviously, businesses are in dire need of support from their governments, and the longer they keep the businesses at lockdown, will have a tremendous effect. And not everyone is like Disney that can afford to stay afloat. Obviously, at the end of the day, Disney has to be answerable to their shareholders. But for the other small businesses, they may be considered small, but they do hire, tens of thousands of employees here and there. And, if you combine it as a totality, that's even a lot as well. So hopefully, they could find a resolution so that, eventually theme parks will be open. And, I'll be one to support such initiative, just as long as they can ensure the safety and limit, or not necessarily limit, keyword should be mitigate the spread of the virus in any shape or form. If there's even just a smidgen or a small hint of chance that it could spread again, and that would be the responsibility of Disney as a company as a whole. That's why they have to make sure or ensure it's not just about the business, but also the lifestyle that you're preaching. Obviously, Disney is a or Disney theme park as a whole is what Walt Disney envisioned, the happiest place on earth. You don't want to turn it into a complete opposite of that. Hopefully not, right? Anyway, so next we have here is GM. So GM, one of the big car manufacturers in the world, they've started producing electric vehicles or EV vehicles, and they're under some scrutiny with the same case that we just discussed last week regarding Tesla vehicles having faulty parts and so forth. So in the case of GM, their batteries are in question here. So GM is recalling nearly 69,000 electric vehicle bolts for risk of fire. So let's take a closer look here. Where is it? There you go. So as mentioned, it's recalling almost 69,000 of its electric vehicles worldwide. So it's not just in the United States, but worldwide. And the reason here is because their battery poses a fire risk, and there have been 5 reported fires and 2 minor injuries. Now, obviously, with regards to electric vehicles, the main component for the electric vehicles to work is the battery, and you can just imagine hundreds of batteries underneath the vehicle, goes up in flame, and that's a hazard that can be disastrous and could kill people instantaneously. And any minor defects should be treated quickly. Now, obviously, one of the main question here is how are they able to not see this coming? Obviously, especially with electric vehicles, one of the main concerns here is the quality control, not just with the regular vehicle, but as well as any vehicles in general. That quality control should be at the forefront of any company that's selling to the mass market. And and if they did not do their proper diligence in terms of quality control, it's now going to cost them thousands or even millions and millions of dollars with the recall of all of their electric vehicles. And it started way back from 2017 all the way to 2019. So that's 3 years of work, and their batteries is sourced from LG. So the high voltage battery is produced by LG company here. And as mentioned, GM has mentioned already that their vehicles could pose a risk when it's charged full, which isn't the point of having an electric vehicle. Similar to your mobile phones, laptops, all electronic devices. So what they're recommending, they develop a software that will limit the vehicle from charging at full capacity. So they would reduce it, let's say, at 90% here, so that to mitigate the risk. But the flip side of this is you're not able to maximize the usage of your vehicle. So instead of, let's say, 100 miles travel distance, it would be limited to just 90. Now, 10 miles may not be much, but if you want to maximize the usage of your vehicle, 10 miles is an important number. And obviously using a app to mitigate the risk is one of the ways. But to begin with, ensuring that the batteries are safe to begin with, they should have done a thorough research study over and over. That's why development takes years and even decades to ensure that disasters like this, well, hopefully no big disasters would occur. But with the reports here, it's not the only isolated case that was reported based on the incident. Actually, what's funny here is the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is suggesting that they should park their cars outside and away from homes until vehicles have repaired due to the new recall for the risk of fire. So you're trying to provide minor solutions to a bigger problem. Shouldn't they try to fix the root cause of the problem rather than just give you different minor solution could lead to more complications or more issues here? Anyway, obviously fire, when you talk of fire, smoke insulation could be a major issue here if an electric vehicle were to caught fire. And another case, another company, Hyundai Motor Company, also had to recall almost 77,000 Kona electric vehicles worldwide with the possible defect of battery cells. And guess who makes their battery cells as well? It's LG Chemical as well. So, and it's supplied, their factory is made in Nanjing, China. So they have to make a thorough investigation as to whether the the batteries are safe, is the process of making those batteries are in question, or something else. Because if this were the case, and this would history would repeat, hopefully nothing disaster would come out of it. But you want to be safer than sorry. Otherwise, it's going to cost companies millions and millions, or even billions of dollars, if that were to uh, you know explode all of a sudden here. Anyway, so here's some interesting topic regarding Walmart. So I think we've been discussing Walmart for some time now, and you know they've heavily invested in uh, increasing their market share in the Indian market. But in other regions, they're trying to sell off different parts of their business. We've mentioned already, they're selling. Well, they haven't sold off all of it, but they still part owner a retail store in Europe. Then now they're now selling their supermarket chain that's called Seiyu to Rakuten. So they would still be minority owners of said Japanese supermarket chain. So let's take a look here. Where is it? There you go. So as mentioned, the US retail giant Walmart have sold most of its stakes in Japan Seiyu to the investment firm KRR, or Kravis Kohlberg Roberts, to the e-commerce company Rakuten. So dealing in the worth of 172.5 billion yen, or 1.65 billion dollars. So they first entered in the Japanese market way back in 2002, and then took over the company in 2008. Now, obviously, with the current situation, I think, with what Walmart is doing, they're trying to shift their focus, not just focusing primarily in the US market, but also in the Indian market. So obviously, they have to balance the different regions that they have interest in, whether in Europe or in Asia, or in this case in Japan. So they're relinquishing some of their controls over there. And I think, because of the what they call this, they were enticed to buy the company because of the allure of high spending power that is the Japanese consumer. But based on historical or preferences of a Japanese buyer, they tend to prefer money for value, and they're always cut by price cut competition. And obviously, this will make it difficult for any businesses to make inroads in making a substantial amount in revenue. So what would happen here, as mentioned, KKR, as mentioned, the invested firm would buy as much the stake of 65% of the company, while Rakuten will acquire 20%, which Walmart will retain a 15% interest here. So they're not necessarily abandoning the Japanese market; they're just refocusing their attention to key markets and keeping this one as a secondary option, so that if the economies improves, then maybe they could acquire again a majority portion of the company as well here. But the question here is, are they planning to exit the Japanese market? But obviously, retaining a minority stake here gives them some semblance of they might be interested maybe sometime in the future. Who knows? Anyway, so next we have here is, so for some updates. So we were just talking about last week whether buying a console for this holiday, is it a good buy or is it a good purchase? We talk about the Xbox that launched earlier. Then last week we talked about the Sony PS5, the features that it has, a big bulky console with the different features, how fast it can load, the storage that it has, the dual sense controller gives you a different haptic feedback of sorts. Now, if you're convinced to buy a new console, here's the problem. Where are you supposed to buy a new console? Now, for those who are interested to buy in abroad, especially in the United States, so you're out of luck. Whether you're planning to buy the regular console or the digital version, it's considered affordable based on their pricing scheme. $400, that's roughly 20,000 pesos in our money. 500, that's roughly about 25,000. So, it's similar to the price that when the previous generation, the Sony PS4, was launched. So, you know, it's a good deal if you can find one. But the question is, how are you able to do that? Because it's selling like hotcakes right now. So, let's see here. Where is it? There you go. So how are you going to be able to buy? So here's some tips on where to buy. Now, obviously, the main platform that you're able to buy your products is buying it online. So question is, which platform, which website should you go and buy your products here? Now you can go to sonyplaystation.com, but it's a hit and miss situation here, and you could look at other retail stores such as GameStop, but they only have limited number of PS5 consoles, even bundles for purchase, which is already sold out by game day. They also have Walmart. They would have PS5 available and different time zones, different time dates. So, but then again, it was sold out within minutes. So meaning, there's panic from people, trying to buy a product that, whether you're buying it for yourself or buying it for your kids and so forth. Buying products shouldn't be that difficult. And, is it the fault of the resellers here? Or maybe Sony has to do a better job of ensuring that products are available at launch. Now, they already reported before that there was an expected increase of demand compared to the PS4 launch. I think they expected to sell at least 6 million units by the time PS4 launched. And then, with their projections here, it was to surpass that by as much as 10 million. So you could just imagine that I think Sony already knew there's going to be a high demand coupled with the pandemic. People are stuck at home, so they're looking for ways to what do you call this? Sorry, looking ways to keep themselves entertained. Obviously, there's even more hype to buy the consoles here, so that they have more things to do at home. So you can enjoy playing the latest games and so forth. But the question is, why is it not readily available? Is it because of the logistics process, or is it the process of ordering? The fact that you're supposed to order online, shouldn't you be given priority? Let's say maybe give them a queue, like a QR code. Let's say you give them at random. Let's say you register and then they give you a number. So for example, for each retail store that you go there, you give a number, and then there's draw lots by chance. Whoever wins So going back, so the main issue here, what are we supposed to, what can we do? At the end of the day, it's for the governments to decide whether loot boxes are considered gambling or not. If it's gambling, then they should be penalized for taking advantage of the system. If it's not, again, it's up to the players at the end of the day to decide if you want to support the games, you're supporting their practices, whether it's considered illegal or ethical or not, then it's up to the one who pays the game. If no one subscribes to their games, then there's no EA Sports here. So again, but there's some inroads now, right? In 2019, the UK Digital Culture, Media and Sports Committee recommended that the UK government ban the sale of loot boxes to children after its 9-month inquiry. So it's considered as immersive and addictive technologies. So, but still, EA is still claiming that loot boxes are surprise mechanics. Now, what is surprise mechanics? Is there a chance involvement? The fact that there is chance, whether it's physical or digital process of using this technology, they're just circumventing the words, twisting the words so that they can escape the reality, which is what they're offering is technically gambling to kids, right? It's wanting to offer this to adults, which is consenting adults, but in this case will protect the interest of the young minds here. And according to the UK trade body, the Association for UK Interactive Entertainment, or UKI, reiterated that the many tools and methods are already in place, but again, it's not enough, right? Even the first-rate countries are having difficulty time monitoring it, regulating it, right? And obviously, companies like EA is going to take advantage to the hilt until such a time government adjusts the their whatever you want, what do you call it, their perspective that it is a threat to the society here. Anyway, for some local news, so obviously the problems for many businesses, how do you stay afloat? Now, on the flip side here, if your business is doing well, which is good, right? But question is, how can you avoid debt in a climate like this wherein businesses are down, right? And if you need to borrow money, where can you go to? If you go to your local bank, is it easy to borrow banks and so forth? Well, not according to the article here. So entrepreneurs are avoiding debt or cannot borrow, either of the two, during this crisis. Now, obviously, it's not easy to, what do you call this, to easy to survive in this difficult climate, but you have to make do with what you have. And if you're a thriving business in this difficult climate, kudos for you, right? But if you try to borrow money, like in the case of Abdul Candelario, he tried to borrow $500,000 from the bank so he could expand his Korean barbecue businesses and capitalize on the booming food delivery service, which is one of the few industries that are doing really, really well. So if you can capitalize on that, then you need to maximize it. But as in the case, when he tried to make a loan, it was rejected. So he had to use his savings to keep the business smaller so that, it is what it is. Maybe you have to wait a year or two, or not just a year, maybe 6 months down the line, and, maybe you can borrow from the bank now. And it was stated that even though his business was doing great, they still have to use their savings because it was hard to get the loan, and the savings they could finally build a physical store here. Now, obviously, it's not the case for everyone here. Now, obviously, majority of businesses here in our country are considered micro SMEs or micro, small, medium enterprises. So it's not easy to borrow from the bank, especially if you're not a corporation. So there's no assurance that if you were to borrow money, how can banks know that you're going to repay your bills there? So let's see, where is it? There you go. Now, obviously, it's always ideal to borrow from the bank, but amid the record low interest, they're still conservative and obviously afraid of losing money, of the risk of what do you call this? Yeah, uncertainty of businesses. When businesses do close, then they have a big problem here. Anyway, so what's the best solution here? So obviously, government has to step in to encourage government, the banks, financial institution to lend money to even small businesses. Obviously, because a big part of our economy is relying on 99.5% of our economy is based on micro SMEs. Then, shown government, financial institutions work together to find some medium way to help those businesses survive and even grow as a business, because if they are to succeed, grow from small to medium to large corporation, I think everyone wins at the end of the day. Businesses wins, banks wins, the economy wins, everybody wins. And that's something that we can look forward to. Wait here. Now, obviously, the banks are being prudent, as they call it. Even small banks have tightened their lending standards to better manage the risk, which is, understandable. On the other hand, there are some businesses who wants to expand and borrow money can't. On this case, we have Daryl Abueva, who is a businessman who runs a billboard company, is being offered loans by several banks, but he's rejecting it, right? Because obviously, you don't want to rely heavily on debt. You want to manage your debt equity ratio in terms of, you want to have cash flow versus majority of your business in debt and so forth. So, it's a decision making that, that's important for any individual or any businesses that you have here. So it's not just about making a loan from the bank. It's what you will use it for. Is it to expand, grow the business, then so forth. And obviously, it's not an easy solution. There's no right or wrong answer here. But once you make a commitment, it's not as easy as it looks. So you have to be very careful. Not just borrow money and there's no assurance that are you able to repay it, right? Obviously, you have to do the financial computation already ahead of time and make a compelling reason. Is it what you really need, or maybe you need to offer a different service? Maybe you need to do something else. It's not just acquiring more debt and so forth. And for many businesses that are struggling, obviously, focusing on the digital economy is one of the key ways to survive this critical juncture. For those who have invested heavily in the online platform, have reaped the benefits, right? And for those who not, are having a difficult time or are struggling tremendously. Anyway, so next we have here is, finally, for our last topic. Our last topic? Yes. Is it our last topic? Let me check. No. I still have one more topic to include before we finish. What was it? Yes. So, speaking of transportation, I think we were talking for a few weeks regarding the improvements that the government has made inroads with regards to connecting the north and the south by creating the North Expressway. Then there's the South Luzon Expressway, connecting them with the SKYWAY, connecting the north and the south. So making the travel time shorter. Then I think last week we discussed regarding the north to the port area link. It's tremendous. And now there's the connecting the Bulacan Airport to the north and the South Expressway and the SKYWAY itself. So let's see here. So I don't know what they're going to call it. So they say it's going to be called Bulacan Airport or maybe New Manila. I don't know if it makes sense. New Manila Airport or New Manila International Airport or NMIA, NIMIA. So it's going to be built by the SMC group of companies. I don't know if it sounds right. Bulacan Airport sounds more appropriate because it's in Bulacan, so you could call it Bulacan Airport. But calling it New Manila, we have a New Manila here in Santa Mesa, the New Manila area. So I don't know if you should call it New Manila. And technically, Bulacan is not part of Manila anymore. So Maybe they could come up with a better name. Hopefully. Anyway, so according to the article here, San Miguel is announcing that they will be building new roads that will link both the north, south, and they're going to spend or incorporate in their Bulacan Airport project that is built at 740 billion pesos. So, looking at the picture here, looks like any international airport in other countries, right? So hopefully we could achieve that and links to other parts of the region as well with this big project. So they plan to construct an 8-kilometer toll road that will connect, as mentioned, the airport to the North Luzon Expressway and the recently completed SKYWAY Stage 3, which in turn will connect to the South Luzon. So meaning, people can connect from north to south to the airport, the international airport here. So they're also including as mentioned, the integrated airport tollway express from the northern access link. They also have the integrated airport toll expressway network southwest access link. They also have the integrated toll airport express central access link. It's a very long term. East Metro Manila Expressway and Northeast Airport Expressway. So it's something to look forward that can benefit many travelers. Obviously, this would be beneficial for businesses, especially who wants to invest here in our country. Improving our infrastructure is going to be key to growing and making our country a booming economy that we need, especially in this critical area. Anyway, for our final story, so we were talking of businesses. How are they thriving? If you're working from home, is there a way to communicate with your fellow workers? Is it going to be effective? How long is this going to last, and so forth? Well, there's one such company that is offering a way to solve all your troubles. So, are you familiar with the software Lark? So it's similar to how Zoom works, but it provides more features than just the basic communication, video conferencing, and stuff. So let's see here. Where is it? There you go. So as I mentioned, so Lark is a software that is developed to what do you call this? To adapt with the rapid change that we have today by offering an agile, flexible, and digitally enabled circumstances. Obviously, with uncertainty at hand, working remotely has been a key feature in many businesses. Now, if it's a savings or not, we don't know. We still have to wait, what the future foretells ahead of us, right? But, keeping them afloat is key here. So, it's not just what do we do now, but how can we cope with the situation now? Obviously, with online environment, it's safe. We keep our employees, people safe. But question, how can we remain productive? And that's the main issue here. And a way to enhance effective collaborativeness is the app that is Lark. So it's a free account, as mentioned in the article. So you can work closely together. Okay. So you have all the tools to get work done. So you can communicate, as I mentioned. Actually, they have the case here wherein a company of infectious advertising uses their app to work together despite the physical distances. So using the platform, they are able to communicate and collaborate with breeze. I don't know if it's a breeze because obviously if you're used to working with people in close proximity, so I don't know if it's going to be effective if it's, you're far away, miles and miles away. So it's never going to be easy, but we have to wait and see how it goes. But again, it's a work in progress, as mentioned. And in this case, they're making it work. And for many companies, you have to adapt with the changes. Otherwise, you will get left behind. And that's the case that they have here. And I think if they're able to be successful here, I think other companies can adopt it also and be successful as well there. So You know, the future is looking brighter as we look forward. Even with difficulty, there's always opportunities for businesses to try. Obviously, we have to adapt with the changes. Otherwise, you know, this is what we're dealt with. It's either we give up or we fight, right? Anyway, that concludes our discussion for this week. Anyway, thank you for joining me again. So if you have any questions, leave your comments down below. Also, if you want to check the full article, so I'll leave the link in the description below so you can check the full article. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. So I'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel. Take care.